You are not tired because you are busy. You are tired because you have left too many tabs open in your mind. Let that sink in for a moment. We live in an age where we treat our devices with more reverence than we treat our own souls. Think about it. When your phone drops to 20% battery, you feel a sudden urge to save it. You scramble for a charger. You dim the brightness. You close the heavy apps that are eating up the processor. You instinctively understand that the device has limited capacity and requires conservation, but you do not offer yourself the same grace. You are walking around with your spiritual battery blinking red, yet you keep the brightness turned all the way up. You keep saying yes to people who drain you. You keep the notifications of your anxiety turned on. You are running a high-performance life on a low-voltage connection, and then you wonder why you feel like you are crashing. This is not a medical diagnosis. This is an engineering problem. To understand why you feel this way, we have to look at the human spirit not just as a ghost in a machine, but as the machine itself. Your soul is a battery. It was designed by a master architect to hold a specific charge of life force, creativity, and patience. But here is the secret that nobody tells you. Most of your energy is not being used by the things you are actively doing. It is being stolen by the things you are passively allowing. In computer engineering, there is a concept called a background process. These are applications that run silently behind the scenes. You cannot see them on the screen, but they are chewing up your RAM and heating up your processor. Your mind works exactly the same way. Every grudge you are holding is a background app. Every conversation you are replaying from 3 years ago is a background app. Every worry about a future that has not happened yet is a background app. You might think you are sitting quietly in a chair doing nothing, but internally, your system is running at 100% capacity processing data that does not serve you. You are mining your own energy and giving it away to the ghosts of your past. And then there are the external connections, the Bluetooth devices. These are the people and the situations that pair with you without your permission. We often call them energy vampires. But that is too poetic. Let us be scientific. They are ungrounded circuits. They have no source of power of their own, so they plug into you. They provoke a reaction just to feed off your output. When you engage with unnecessary drama, when you argue with someone who is committed to misunderstanding you, you are essentially tethering your fully charged soul to a dead battery. Physics dictates that the energy will flow from the higher source to the lower source until you are both drained. You call it being a good friend. The universe calls it a leak. We need to stop normalizing this exhaustion. We need to look at the engineering of your spirit and ask the hard question. Who is mining your energy? And more importantly, do you have the courage to press force stop? Because here is the truth. You cannot serve your purpose if you have no power left to run the program. It is time to audit your connections. It is time to close the tabs. Let us go deeper into how we find these leaks. Have you ever noticed how your phone loses power even when the screen is turned off? You can leave it sitting on a table, completely untouched for hours, and yet when you pick it up, the battery has dropped. This happens because of what engineers call background refresh. Even when the device looks asleep, it is secretly communicating, searching for signals, and updating information that you did not ask for. Your spirit operates on the exact same protocol. You might believe that because you are not physically fighting with someone, or because you are lying in bed trying to sleep, that you are resting. But you are not resting. You are refreshing. You have entered into unconscious agreements with things that are quietly siphoning your life force. Let us look at the specific applications that are causing this heat. First, there is the resentment application. This is perhaps the most heavy program you can run. When you hold onto a grudge, or when you replay an argument from 3 years ago in the shower, your mind is doing the equivalent of rendering a high-definition video over and over again. It requires massive amounts of CPU usage to keep a past event alive in the present moment. You are burning through your resources to power a memory that no longer exists. Then, there is the worry application. This is a constant stream of data. Worry is the act of trying to download a future that has not been uploaded yet. Your mind tries to predict 1,000 different outcomes, buffering scenarios that have no basis in reality. It is a glitch. You are spending your real-time energy trying to solve imaginary problems. And while these internal apps are dangerous, the most rapid drain comes from your open connections. Think of this as your spiritual Bluetooth. We all have people in our lives who function like ungrounded devices. They are the energy vampires, but do not view them with hatred, view them with clarity. They seek to pair with you because they cannot generate their own charge. You know exactly who these people are. When they come near you, your system alerts you. You feel a heaviness. They connect to you, and then they begin the data dump. They transfer their trauma, their drama, and their chaos onto your hard drive. And here is the tragedy of that transaction. When the conversation is over, they walk away feeling lighter. They walk away fully charged because they have successfully offloaded their burden onto you. Meanwhile, you are left sitting there at 0%, wondering why you suddenly feel so heavy. You must understand the economics of your own soul. There is an ancient saying that you cannot serve two masters. In our modern language, we would say you cannot power every connection. Energy is finite. Focus is a currency. Every time you give your attention to a toxic situation, every time you allow a notification from a chaotic person to steal your peace, you are paying a spiritual subscription fee that you cannot afford. You are financing their dysfunction with your own peace of mind. It is not selfish to preserve your battery. It is a requirement for survival. You have to decide which apps are essential for your mission and which ones are simply malware disguised as obligations. Now, we must go deeper. We must leave the surface level of psychology and enter the holy ground of theology. We need to shift our understanding of what this energy actually is. You see, the battery life we are talking about is not just adrenaline or caffeine. It is not just your physical stamina. This energy is the very breath of the Creator inside of you. It is the life force that animates your dust. When you view your energy as something that belongs to God, wasting it stops being a bad habit and starts looking like poor stewardship. We are often taught that we must be available to everyone, that we must be endlessly self-sacrificing. But that is a misunderstanding of the design. You were given a spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind. Those are divine gifts. If you allow a toxic person or a chaotic situation to steal your sound mind and replace it with anxiety, you are allowing a theft of holy property. You are the manager of this vessel. If you leave the doors unlocked and let thieves come in and strip the house bare, you are not being kind. You are being negligent. There is a text in the wisdom literature, Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, that gives us the ultimate security protocol. It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Notice the urgency there, above all else. It does not say guard your reputation or guard your bank account. It says guard your heart. Why? Because that is the operating system. If the core processor is corrupted by a virus, every single program you try to run will fail. Your relationships, your work, your worship, everything flows from that center. So how do we guard it? We look to the ancient builders. When Nehemiah went to restore the holy city, the first thing he did was rebuild the wall. He did not build the wall because he hated the people outside. He built the wall because he loved the people inside. He knew that a city without walls is just a ruin waiting to happen. You need a spiritual firewall. You need to learn that the word no is a holy word. We often feel guilty for saying no, as if we are being rude. But in the spiritual architecture, saying no is simply closing a port that is letting in malware. No is a complete sentence. It is the lock on the gate that keeps the temple clean. If you struggle with this, if you feel that you must always be online and available to the world, look at the example of the Master. Throughout the Gospels, we see a pattern. Jesus is surrounded by crowds. People are demanding his time, touching his clothes, asking for miracles. The need was infinite. But what did he do? Over and over again, the text says he withdrew to lonely places to pray. He walked away from the needs of the multitude. He went into the wilderness. He went up the mountain. In our modern terms, Jesus went into airplane mode. Think about the magnitude of that. If the Savior of the world, the very source of life, needed to disconnect from the crowds to reconnect with the Father, who are you to believe you can be available 24 hours a day? He knew that he could not pour from an empty cup. He knew that his power came from his connection to the source, not from the approval of the crowd. Disconnecting is not an act of weakness. It is an act of worship. It is a statement that says, I trust God enough to step away, and I respect myself enough to recharge. So, how do we execute this? We have diagnosed the problem, and we have established the theology. Now, we must write the code. We must look at the practical steps to initiate the shutdown sequence. You need a protocol. The first step is what I call the notification audit. I want you to look at your life the way a technician looks at a server log. You need to identify the traffic. Pay attention to your body. Your body is a sensor. When your phone rings and you see a certain name on the screen, what happens to your chest? Do you feel a sudden expansion, a sense of lightness? Or do you feel a contraction, a sudden weight? That heaviness is data. That is your spirit's way of flagging a corrupted file. You do not need to judge the person. You do not need to label them as evil. You simply need to acknowledge that this connection costs more power than you can afford to pay. If a name brings heaviness, that is a notification you need to silence. The second step is the most difficult, but it is the most critical. You must close the tabs. In spiritual terms, we call this forgiveness, but I want you to reframe your understanding of that word. We often think forgiveness is an apology to the person who hurt us. We think it is saying that what they did was acceptable. It is not. Forgiveness is an act of engineering. It is simply the decision to stop processing the event. As long as you hold on to anger, as long as you nurture the bitterness, that tab is open. It is using your RAM. It is slowing down your processing speed for everything else in your life. You forgive them not to set them free. You forgive them to free up your own memory. You are saying, I am closing this window so that my system can run smoothly again. I am reclaiming the energy I was spending on hating you, and I am investing it back into my own purpose. And finally, step 3. You must find the right charging port. This is where most of us fail. When we are drained, we instinctively run to other people. We call a friend to vent. We scroll through social media looking for inspiration. We look for a partner to complete us. But you have to understand the physics. Other humans are just batteries too, and most of them are running on empty. You cannot fully recharge a dead battery by plugging it into another dead battery. All you are doing is shuffling around a limited amount of energy. You are trying to run a high-performance life on a low-voltage connection. To truly recharge, you must bypass the devices and plug directly into the wall. You need the grid. You need the creator. This is what deep silence is for. This is what prayer is for. It is not about asking for things. It is about docking your soul into the port of the eternal. It is sitting in the presence of God until the red light turns green. When you plug into the source, you are not just getting energy. You are getting an update. You are remembering who you are. And when you come back to the world, you are not desperate for energy anymore. You are overflowing with it. That is the difference between surviving your life and powering it. This is your reboot moment. We have looked at the diagnostics. We have identified the drain. And now, you are standing at the threshold of a decision. You have to realize that your energy is not infinite, and it is not cheap. It is sacred currency. It is the most valuable resource you possess. Every single day, you wake up with a specific amount of this currency in your account. Stop spending it on things that do not buy you peace. Stop investing your soul in markets that are guaranteed to crash. When you engage with toxicity, when you hold on to the past, when you worry about the future, you are making bad investments. You are buying stress. You are buying exhaustion. You are buying a heavy heart. It is time to liquidate those assets. It requires courage to sit in the silence and press that button. It feels scary to let go of the anger because the anger has kept you warm for so long. It feels strange to stop worrying because the worry felt like control. But it was never control. It was just a drain, so I want you to visualize it right now. Visualize all those tabs in your mind, the faces of the people who hurt you, the fears of tomorrow, the noise of the world. Now watch yourself clicking close. One by one, close the tab, forgive the debt, disconnect from the drama. And as the screen of your mind clears, notice what happens. The fan stops spinning so loud, the heat goes down. And the battery icon turns from red to green. Watch how fast your power comes back when you stop giving it away. This is the peace that passes understanding. It is not the absence of trouble. It is the presence of power. You are fully charged. You are ready to run the race set before you. If you are ready to make this commitment today, if you are ready to protect your peace and stop the negativity, I want you to make a declaration. Go down to the comments right now and type these words. I am recharging. Type it as a signal to yourself and a signal to the universe that the drain stops today.